intellectually astute. It's just a Pujari class.
The microphone, don't speak too close. It's enough volume. And if you speak close, it just pops and I can't even understand what's happening in class.
Is this good?
That's close.
Well, that's better for me, too. Yeah. Little cartels. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balaba Girivadit Hari Yasodhanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Panichari Yamuna Tira Panichari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jaya Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhavakacharya Sutara Satyashri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhavakacharya Sutara Satyashri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Namachar Surdas Thakur ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan ki Jai. Shri Vrindavanadam ki Jai. Shri Mathuradam ki Jai. Shri Gokul Dham ki Jai. Shri Dwarka Dham ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Dham ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki Jai. Jagannatha Swami ki Jai. Yamuna Mai ki Jai. Ganga Mai ki Jai. Shrimati Tulasi Devi ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Gana Timirandasya Gana Gana Shalakaya Chaksu Militanyena Taismai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitanyena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam. So today we are so fortunate that we are getting to hear about the pastimes of the residents of Vrindavan as Uddhava enters into Vrindavan. We're going to be reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 46 and verse 20. And after reading this verse and the commentaries, we're also going to go back to when Krishna's pastimes first are really introduced in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Parikshit Maharaj is asking to hear the beautiful pastimes of the Lord and the importance of hearing about the pastimes and how attractive the childhood pastimes are. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Davagnirvata Varchascha Vishasarpakcharakshita Duratarebhyo Mirtavhyaya Krishnena Sumahatmana Davagnirvata Varchascha Vishasarpakcharakshita Taratebhyo Mirtubhaya Krishnena Sumahatmanam. Devotees, Tascha Visha Sarpak Sharakshita Darata Byebyo Mirtubya Krishnana Sumahatmana Devagnirvata Varshascha Visha Sarpak Sharakshita Tarata Mebyo Mirtubya Krishnana Sumahatmana. Anyone else? So we'll do the word for word. Dava Agne, from the forest fire. Vata, from the wind. Varshat, and rain. Cha, also. Vrisha, from the bull. Sarpat, from the serpent. Cha, Rakshitaha, and Rakshitaha, protected. Doratabaya, insurmountable. Mirtubaya, from mortal dangers. Krishnana, by Krishna. Sumaha Atmana, the very great soul. Translation: we were saved from the forest fire, the wind and rain, the bull and the serpent demons, from all such insurmountable, deadly dangers by that very great soul, Krishna. You can repeat. We were saved from the forest fire, the wind and rain, the bull and serpent demons, from all such insurmountable deadly dangers by that very great soul, Krishna. So there isn't any purport, but we're going to be reading the different commentaries and then commenting on it. And I had just one of my own comments to make, is that as soon as you read this translation, if you're familiar with Krishna's pastimes, like Divine was telling me that she's reading at night with Mother Tulsi, she's reading Krishna book. So then you become familiar with these pastimes, and then just hearing this one verse, the forest fire, the wind, the rain, the bull, the serpent, demons, then it's a remembrance. It brings back a remembrance of the wonderful pastimes of Krishna. And this is what we see is happening to Nanda Maharaj. He's remembering in the previous verse, in the mood of great separation, in the mood of feeling pain from Krishna externally appearing to be gone from Braj. He's feeling this pain, this anxiety. When will we see him again? When will I see his beautiful face, his beautiful form? So first he's remembering the beautiful form of the Lord. And then after remembering the beautiful form of the Lord, he starts remembering his pastimes and when these pastimes took place. And then after that, we'll see, he'll remember the qualities of the Lord. So this, right away, this Bhagavatam, it's such an instruction for us. And the great sages and the commentaries, they teach us that each word of the Bhagavatam is full of complete nectar. So then we're thinking, well, why don't I taste the nectar? But it's explained also, it's like poison in the beginning is like nectar in the end. And usually what's like nectar in the beginning ends up being troublesome in this world. So it takes or submissive all reception, like hearing from a great devotee of the Lord, Srila Prabhupada, or his advanced devotees or reading the commentaries. And then step by step, as the heart becomes purified, then the mind becomes purified, and we could appreciate the beauty of Lord Krishna's pastimes. So I'm going to read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. But you will not die. You will live a long time, raising your son with affection. Now we will not be safe from the hands of death. This is Nanda Maharaj speaking. In saying this, he recounts the previous threats of death. He saves us from the forest fire, from the rains produced by Indra, because of his natural affection for us, Sumahatmaha. But today, why does he not save us from the huge fire of terrible separation? I cannot understand this. So this is Nanda Maharaj speaking, and he's saying he saved us from all these calamities. But now we're in the greatest suffering, feeling his separation. Why doesn't he save us? Why doesn't he just, get on a rickshaw and go to Mathura? I know, I had to make a modern joke. Why doesn't he get on a golden chariot and just go to Mathura? Because the Krishna that he wants to be with, playing his flute, herding the cows, being with his friends, that Krishna is always in Vrindavan. So when Krishna is there, his expansion as a prince, it just doesn't mix. The relationship doesn't mix. So he's saying, I don't understand. This fire of separation is a greater fire than the fire that took place in Vrindavan. And I'm going to read the other commentaries, and then we'll go back in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we'll speak about these different calamities. As if gaining self-control, Nanda, remembering Krishna's great affection for his relatives, which made him forget his own suffering in order to console himself. So Nanda starts remembering the affection that Krishna had for everyone. And when he's thinking of others, it actually helps to console him. But then by that remembrance, he laments as if his heart has been broken. From his young childhood, Krishna performed many acts to save us. I will describe from the beginning, he showed great compassion. So now we're talking about Krishna's qualities, that he showed so much compassion for the residents. He protected us from the forest fire because of his powers similar to Narayan, as stated by Garga. Or seeing that fire, he swallowed the fire, which became nectar for him because of his very nature or his compassion. Similarly, he protected us from the wind and rain, from the bull and snake, and from other personifications of death. He was the most excellent, great soul, having natural qualities such as unconditional love, mercy, and power. So here again is describing those qualities that Krishna has. And still they're seeing Krishna as being a great soul, because if they thought of him as God, it would be Aishwara, and it would change the whole pastime. So what Krishna's quality is that he has unconditional love, mercy, and power. So if he has unconditional love, mercy, and power, how is he allowing us, his dearmost relatives, his own people, to suffer in this fire? This question is asked. And only those who go deep into the Bhagavatam, who take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, can listen, and although they can't understand with their mind, can take this mood into the heart. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Madhya Lila, in the 8th chapter, which is Ramananda Vat, it really goes into great detail the different relationships of the devotees and the mood of separation they experience upon not being directly with Krishna. Sanatana Goswami speaks, having described Krishna's form with desire to see him, He describes his qualities, somewhat lamenting. Excuse me? Go back to the verse. The same one. This is still the commentary. Sanatana Goswami, 10th chapter, 46th verse. 10th canto, 46th verse, 20, verse 20. It's the same one, it's just the commentary by Sanatana Goswami, 10:46:20. Having described Krishna's form with desire to see him, he describes his qualities, somewhat lamenting. He describes these events since he personally experienced them. The snake refers to Kaliya and Aghasura. These were equal to death. We are alive because he saved us. He could save us because his nature is mercy, sumahatmana. We were saved because he is compassionate, not because of our qualities. This is a statement uttered in misery. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Shrimati Hridayananda Goswami Iti Namane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pashtastarine. So offer my respectful obeisances unto His Holiness Bear Krishna Goswami and unto all the senior devotees here and all the Vaishnavas, unto my spiritual master, unto my Shiksha Gurus, and unto Jiva Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and all the wonderful commentaries that we're hearing today. So this is a very emotional a part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. As we were reading previously, Krishna was feeling so much separation. He had just gotten back from studying in the ashram of Sandamani Muni, very far away, near Ujjain. If you've ever been to Ujjain, it's quite a distance. And he was wondering, how are the residents of Vrindavan doing? Do they know that I've been away? Has anyone come from Vrindavan? Then he hears someone came, and not seeing you there, they felt great sadness in their heart. And so they left. So Krishna, he's feeling a pull. On one hand, he wants to go and be in Vrindavan, be with his mother, his father, his friends, the gopis, the cows, the trees, the Yamuna. He wants to go back to Vrindavan. On the other hand, he has a duty. Kamsa's been killed, but he has a duty to his Devaki, to Vasudeva, to save the planet from the Asuras. So he's pulled. Krishna's pulled back and forth in these different directions. So he meets, previously read, he meets with Balaram, and they have a discussion. What should they do about this situation? What should be done? And then they think, well, what if we just, slip off to Vrindavan, no one will know, and come back? And Balaram says, no, that's not really possible. Because if you slip off, everybody will know that you're gone. And you're being guarded. Like yesterday we read about Rangnath Das Goswami, how he was being guarded to go to meet with Chaitanya. So Krishna, although he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he's in control of everything, under the love of his devotees, he's allowing himself to be held captive. There he is. So he's in this situation. So what to do? So then it's decided, Krishna has this cousin Uddhava, and he looks so much like him, and he's very intelligent. He's a disciple of Brahaspati, and he can go in my place, and he can console the residents. He also tells them, don't really say much to the coward boys, because the coward boys, every day when they go out to play, they see a spurti of Krishna, a form of Krishna, and they don't think it's a dream. Krishna's always there, and the coward boys know it. So they're playing with Krishna, and they don't feel that same separation. So if you tell them something, then they're going to lament. But my mother and my father, how they're lamenting like anything. And just remembering, his mother, Krishna's brought to tears. How his mother was protecting him, how his father was protecting him. What to speak of the gopis, what to speak of Srimati Radharani. So here we've been speaking about how first Nanda, when Uddhava arrives, he recognizes him to be a great person, and he worships him, and he looks so much like Krishna, and he sits him down, and he's like, fanning him and offering him food, and then he opens up his heart. And when he opens up his heart, this flood of emotion comes out. But Mother Yasoda, she doesn't even speak because she can't speak. Her love for Krishna is so strong that tears are just flowing from her eyes, like we read in the Shastra. And there's milk coming from her breast, and she can't speak. And so one of the points we could understand was that this is Krishna's mercy for Uddhava. Uddhava was really thinking, I'm Krishna's good friend. I'm his advisor. He comes to me whenever he has some question about anything. I'm very dear to him. I look like him. But then Uddhava becomes very humbled when he goes to Vrindavan and he sees the love of the Brijabasis is beyond anything I could even imagine. So Nanda Maharaj, first, as I said, he's remembering the beautiful form of Krishna. First remembers his eyes, his nose, his lips, and that also increases his whole form, how he would stand, how he would look, how he'd be playing his flute, what he would look like when he was just glancing over them. And then he remembers his pastimes. First, he's remembering how Krishna would come in from playing in the forest and how the dust would rise and how Mother Yasoda and Nanda Baba, they'd be so happy because Krishna was coming home. He had been out all day long with his friends. And the gopis, they'd be peering out. When will Krishna glance at us? When will he look at us? So he's remembering all of these things. And then he's thinking, Krishna saved us in so many ways. And then he remembers the childhood pastimes. Krishna saved us from the forest fire. And what was that fire? Krishna and his friends who were playing at Banjarvan. They would like to play games, and they would throw things. They had so much fun. They'd throw fruits at each other or steal each other's prasadam and throw it at each other and make fun of each other. So one day everybody was playing so much that the cows wandered off. And all of a sudden the boys look, oh my God, the cows are gone. This is our livelihood. Our parents are going to be very upset with us. So they started searching everywhere, and they found the cows, and everybody was very thirsty. The cowherd boys were thirsty, the cows. So they went to a lake, and they started drinking, or it was Yamuna. They went and they started drinking, but then all of a sudden they were surrounded by a big forest fire, like an incredible forest fire. And the boys, their only shelter always was to cry out to Krishna, 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 save us. So Krishna, he's Yogeshwar, he's the greatest mystic power. And when he wants to use his mystic power, he can use it, but he doesn't want to show it in front of the residents of Vrindavan. They shouldn't get the wrong idea. So he just tells them, just close your eyes, And so they're so innocent. It's like a game for them. All right, we'll close our eyes, So they close their eyes and they look. But I think there must have been maybe a small boy or so that might have peeked, because later they told the adults what happened. So they closed their eyes, and then Krishna just drank in the forest fire like it was nectar. And then the heat of it's gone. Krishna says, all right, you can open your eyes like hide and seek. They open their eyes. But then they find themselves right back under the tree where they first were. So this is the beauty of Krishna's mystic power. But the friends or the parents are just thinking, oh, because we worship Lord Narayan, or maybe Krishna might be a demigod. But then the cowherd boys, they think, oh, if Krishna's a demigod, so we're also demigods. So they always see themselves as equal to Krishna. So this was the forest fire. And then the adults, they heard about it because some of the kids had peeked. They told the parents, Krishna swallowed a forest fire, but the parents, they never believe it. They just like, these boys are always telling stories. So Nanda Maharaj, he's remembering that, and he's thinking, but this fire of separation from Krishna is so much more dangerous than being in the middle of a forest fire. Because at least in the forest fire, you can die. But here you can't die, because if I die and Krishna hears about it, then he'll be unhappy. So whatever Nanda Maharaj and the residents do, it's always to give pleasure to Krishna. So then it talks about why did Krishna swallow that fire? Because he has a nature of compassion. That Krishna is so compassionate that he's always concerned for the welfare of his devotees. And how does that apply in our life? That sometimes we might be feeling the fire of samsara. We're struggling in the fire of material existence, experiencing the burning pain of our previous scars. So then what do? Well, with folded hands, we remember, my dear Lord, let me go on worshiping you from the core of my heart and tolerate whatever reactions are coming to me. And at the same time, knowing that whatever suffering I'm experiencing now is just a minute part of your mercy, that I should be suffering more, but I'm suffering less. And this suffering is pushing me to remember you. And if I could learn to remember you without suffering, then I will no longer have to be in this material world. So a devotee, they could understand these things philosophically. But Nanda Maharaj, he's the greatest devotee of the Lord. And his suffering is not the suffering of this material world. His suffering, as Maharaj and the different devotees have explained, is a sign of ecstasy, a sign of love of Krishna. Then he's saying, you protected us from the wind and rain. So we all know the pastime of the wind and rain, how Indra became upset. Well, Krishna is very tricky, in case you haven't noticed. Krishna wanted to aggravate Indra. It was a time of year when Indra should be getting his rightful due of sacrifice for providing rain timely. Now he doesn't provide it so timely anymore, but we're providing rain timely, and then the residents in Vrindavan are celebrating having their crops. This is a common practice you have in agrarian cultures, that there's a time of year when one celebrates their harvest. Even in the tradition I was raised in, there was a holiday where they would hang fruits and vegetables and build like a little hut, and everybody would celebrate the harvest. That was one of my favorite. It must have been an Udipana for the Govardhan Puja, but I had forgotten it in this life. No, but Manischewitz wine, but I didn't drink wine. I always liked grapes and fresh fruits. I drank grape juice. But anyway, so they have these different ceremonies. But here, Indra was going to be worshipped, and then Krishna decided to teach him a lesson that he'd become too proud. So this was Krishna's compassion to Indra and compassion to the residents of Vrindavan. So as we know, Krishna convinced them to worship Govardhan instead, and everyone had a beautiful festival, which we still celebrate today, and everyone was happy except Indra. He had a major headache, and when he saw what was going on, he tried to destroy the residents of Vrindavan. I mean, can you imagine? He actually tried to destroy Krishna's friends, his family, his home, everything. He tried to destroy everything. And then Krishna taught him a lesson. He held up Govardhan Hill with his left hand, just like an umbrella, and he saved the residents. Not only did he save them, but he had a whole party underneath there. And everybody was in ecstasy because they got to be with Krishna for a whole week. They got to look at him the gopis got to look at him without anyone wondering what they were doing, and everyone got to serve him. So this was such a beautiful pastime, and Krishna saved them from complete devastation But why is Krishna not saving them now from the pain of separation from Krishna? And the Indra he might have been throwing rain and thunder and all kind of calamities, but the tears of separation from the residents of Vrindavan was soaking the whole land of Vrindavan. Nobody even went in their kitchen anymore. It's explained in Gopal Champu that when Uddhava came, someone else had to cook. Nanda Baba's kitchen was full of spider webs. It hadn't been cleaned. Nobody had even been cooking. I listened to your audio on that. It was a very, very painful situation. But here, it says that he's most excellent, great soul, having natural qualities and unconditional love, mercy, and power. So we could understand that this mood of separation is Krishna's love, because Krishna is exchanging this love with his devotees. Krishna himself is feeling so much separation in Mathura that he's crying, and he's sending Uddhava. And the residents of Vrindavan are crying. And through that separation, they're always united. They're never separated. It increases, as Rudrani said, increases. So then it talks about the bull. We all know the story of the bull and how Krishna got in so much trouble for killing the bull. And the gopis like, you killed a cow. You have to atone for yourself. And from that killing of the bull, we know that that was when Radhakund and Shamakund actually appeared, Aristasura, and that's around March time. It's around the time of Holi, around the time of Gaur Purnima. So this bull, he was coming into Vrindavan. He all he wanted to do was to kill Krishna and cause problem. And he was gigantic. It's explained his hump went up to the sky, and he was creating a dust storm everywhere. But Krishna just took him by the horns, and that was that. And like I said, then he got in trouble with the gopis for that. And then the snake, the Kaliya snake, he was just there and poisoning the Yamuna. The cows went to drink water. And they were poisoned. And then Krishna brought them back to life. But worse than the poison of the Kaliya serpent is the poison of separation. So here, Krishna, why has he saved us in so many ways, but now he's not? And then he's thinking, will he only come see us just once? He's so compassionate. Will he remember us? And then he thinks Krishna was always kind to us, not because of our good qualities. If we had good qualities, we wouldn't be in this situation. But Krishna was always kind to us because of his own good qualities. So this is in the mood of misery. But this misery, as we said, is great joy. And when we read this, we become purified. That's why Srila Prabhupada gave us the Krishna book right away, for us to become purified. And I'm going to read really quickly, because time is running out, from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 7, verses 1 through 2. And because the time is limited, I'll read the English. King Parikshit said, "My Lord, Sukadev Goswami, all the various activities exhibited by the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are certainly pleasing to the ear and to the mind. Simply by one's hearing of these activities, the dirty things in one's mind immediately vanish. Generally, we are reluctant to hear about the activities of the Lord, but Krishna's childhood activities are so attractive that they are automatically pleasing to the mind and ear. Thus, one's attachment for hearing about material things, which is the root cause of material existence, vanishes, and one gradually develops devotional service to the Supreme Lord, attachment for him, and friendship with devotees who give us a contribution of Krishna consciousness. If you think it fit, kindly speak about those activities of the Lord." So Prabhupada's translations are often like a purport in themselves. And it's very beautiful because he's letting us know here that just by hearing about these activities, one becomes very purified. And now Parikshit Maharaj, when he was getting to leave, he didn't want to just hear about the incarnations. He wanted to hear about Krishna's pastimes. He wanted to be able to relish those pastimes. Then I wanted to just read a little something here in the purport. Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures exist simply to give us a chance to hear about Krishna. Krishna has different avatars, incarnations, all of which are wonderful and which arouse one's inquisitiveness. But generally, such avatars as Matsya, Kurma, and Varaha are not as attractive as Krishna. First of all, however, we have no attraction for hearing about Krishna, and this is a root cause of our suffering. But Parikshit Maharaj specifically mentions that the wonderful activities of baby Krishna, which amaze Mother Yasoda and other inhabitants of Raj, are especially attractive. From the very beginning of his childhood, Krishna killed Putana, Trinavarta, and Shaktasura, and showed the entire universe within his mouth. Thus, the pastimes of Krishna, one after another, kept Mother Yasoda and all the inhabitants of Raj in great astonishment. This is a key thing here that Prabhupada says. The process to revive one's Krishna consciousness is Adoshradhatata Sadhu Sangha, Bhakti-rasmita Sindhu 1:4-15. The pastimes of Krishna can be properly received from devotees. If one has developed a little bit of Krishna consciousness by hearing from Vaishnavas about the activities of Krishna, one becomes attached to Vaishnavas who are interested only in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj recommends that one hear about Krishna's childhood activities, which are more attractive than the activities of other incarnations such as Matsya, Kurma, and Varaha. Wanting to hear more and more from Sukadeva Goswami, Maharaj Parikshit requested him to continue describing Krishna's childhood activities, which are especially easy to hear and which create more and more inquisitiveness. So this is Srila Prabhupada's purport. And it was like an introduction to bringing us into these pastimes. And as we know from the Ramananda Samvat, the pastimes become more and more intimate. And as it becomes more and more intimate, the prema and the love increases. So that's why it said a devotee is not interested in Shantaras, just to appreciate the Lord, but wants to, there's Dasya where one is serving and one is always serving, and then Sakya where the Lord becomes one's friend, and then Vatsalya, and then Madhurya. So this Krishna consciousness movement is such a wonderful opportunity. And actually the only way we could even begin to enter into the mood of separation and relish it is through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, Lord Nityananda, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who exhibited the topmost mood of separation. So I thank you all very much. There's not much time. Does anyone have a correction or a comment? To hearing. No books. And actually it's the sound vibration, the Shabda Brahma, which is coming directly from the spiritual world that enters into the heart and purifies. So even if we are using these other methods in Kali Yuga, it is so important to sit down and to hear Harinama Sankirtan. So thank you, Rudrani, for your comment. And thank you all for listening and for the opportunity to
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvandam Maravindanalaya Taksham Marhamatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vikamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Asa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam
Adipurusham. Namaham Vishnu Daya Krishna Prasthaya Mutalai Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Guru Namanichi Amalai Saraswati Devi Murali Praja Nivesesha Shunyavadi Ashachagade Satchande Nivesesha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gauravatanda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Vaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Chaitanya, Ramanityananda, Sri Advaita, Vasadi, Gaurakrishna, Shri Krishna, Chaitanya, Sri Advaita, Vasadi, Gaurakrishna, Krishna, Chaitanya, Ramanityananda, Dvaita, Shivasari, Gaur, Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jai Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnu.
Cheto Darpana Marjana Bhavani Nirvapana Sreyam Kairavya Chandrakavim Haranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti Tatra Pitami Vitasmaranena Kama Ekadrashita Vakriba Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Tvai Harinanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishamevam Buddha Kripaya Tavabalad Pankaja Stita Duli Sadashimichandaya Nayanam Navashudaraya Vardanam Gadgada Radaya Gira Pula Karnishitam Vapukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishyava Padamritam Panashtumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatatava Vindatolam Patomat Prananatastu Saeva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharajnanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen in the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the limbs of your Lord's feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end in your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditional.